All right, hello everyone. My name is Daniel Smith. I'm the head of ERT research at Radware. So today I'm basically here to give you guys a little bit of a preview about what I do for Radware and also how I go about on the Darknet. So I work for the ERT. It's a 24/7 response team. We're full of security experts. We're actively mitigating attacks. As far as research goes, we're proactively going out there. We're looking for criminals, and we're running covert operations to actually talk to these hackers, figure out the tools they're using, and also notify our customers before the attacks actually launch. With that, I just kind of want to jump into this. So what is the Darknet? The Darknet basically is an overlay network that requires specific tools to access it. In the case of Tor and I2P, you're going to have to use different encrypted layer tools to access the network. So the origins of the Darknet came around in about the 1970s and was something used to describe an isolated network on ARPANET. They ended up receiving a lot of funding in the 90s by the US Naval Research Project, and also ended up getting funding from DARPA. In 2002, the Tor project came around, and they basically provided more funding and became a lot more popular in use. There's a lot of different uses out there right now for the Darknet, specifically email, social media, hosting, file sharing, news, e-commerce. There's pretty much anything and everything that you can find in the ClearNet, you can also find in the Darknet. So how to access the Darknet? There's basically two different Darknets that I'm using with my work. I'm using Tor and I2P. So Tor is basically, it stands for the Onion Router. I2P stands for the Invisible Internet Project. Tor is basically designed for anonymity, where I2P is more of a friend-to-friend file sharing. So I'll use Tor basically to go on and out-proxy to the internet, look at different things while maintaining my identity. Where if I need to actually transfer any kind of data between these people I'm talking to, I'll use I2P. So a little bit about I2P. I2P is basically taking your data and it's encapsulating it inside of a encryption layer. A lot of people like to look at it as garlic routing, so each clove in a garlic is going to be your packet. And it's going to be bunched together with a lot of people's other information to prevent deep packet inspection. I2P is a unidirectional tunnels that are created. So basically you're creating a tunnel with the person you're talking to, the information is sent out through one tunnel and received through the other. With Tor, we all know it's like an onion, so your information is stored inside. You have multiple layers of encryption. So as you're going through the network, one relay is passing on your information to the next. And it's bidirectional, so the information that you're sending is also coming back through the exact same tunnel. A little bit about the Tor network. There's about 1.5 to 2 million users on the Tor network a day. The United States seems to be one of the more popular countries out there that's using it. As far as bridges go, there's maybe about 100,000 bridges out there. And one of the things I like to do is I monitor the metrics at Tor project. And when you see a spike in traffic from certain countries, it's usually an indication that there's actually some form of censorship going on. So you can learn more about these relays if you go to the Atlas page for the Tor project. And inside the Atlas page, you can get information specifically about the Tor relays. So it's giving you information specifically about bandwidth, update, and the IP address, and such as flags also associated with the relays. A nice little visual representation of the Tor network can be found on the TorFlow website. So this is a site that just kind of shows you the different active relays and the users that are out there. This image is from November 8, 2007, and just the growth between there and 2016 is quite large. There's all kinds of people out there other than criminals that are just using it. People in countries that are facing censorship, also activists that are wanting to communicate with journalists and keep their identity closed. So one of the events that we were monitoring was a censorship in Turkey. I'm sure we're all familiar with the assassination that happened with the Russian ambassador live on TV. Right after that happened, the government of Turkey started blocking websites like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. So users in those countries wanted to actually gain access to that information, so they started using Tor to get there. And it became very popular as the Turkish government started arresting people for internet comments. So as you can see here, about December 2016, right when the assassination happened, there was a large spike in Tor users. And this was a clear indication that there was censorship going on. So some of the things that you can find on the darknet include email service, hosting services, forums, news sites, and e-commerce, like I said. Some of the more popular services out there are actually email services. We actually see a lot of these emails coming into our clients specifically from ransom. A lot of these attackers will use these email services to hide their identity to ransom clients. Another great email service that you can actually find on the darknet is a ClearNet service called ProtonMail. They actually offer a hidden service, so if you don't want to access their website through the ClearNet, you can actually access it through the darknet. And basically this is just adding additional layer of security. But Tor is not a silver bullet, right? It's not a one-click solution. It's just an additional layer of security. So some of the other things that you can find on the darknet include hosting services. Here we have an example of an offshore bulletproof hosting. And there's a lot of risk involved with this, right? So you don't necessarily knowing what is being hosted on these servers. And in the case of Freedom Hosting 2 that we all recently heard about, it was taken down by a vigilante hacker because someone was hosting child pornography. As a result, over 10,000 websites on the darknet went offline, and they have not come back. So if you were actually hosting a legitimate service on Freedom Hosting 2, your website was gone because of the content that was also being hosted there. So a lot of times I suggest to people that want to actually create a hidden service is just use a simple VPS and create a hidden service on that VPS to prevent yourself from being associated with something like Freedom Hosting 2. There's also news sites out there. Here's an example of ProPublica. And basically, like in the situation with Turkey, when the government is censoring the internet, you can use Tor hidden services to host your actual content. So here we have a media site that's hosting news services that allow these people in these countries to actually view this content. In addition, companies like The Intercept also have secure drop boxes. So basically, if you want to provide any information to them without compromising your identity, you can go onto the darknet, you can go to their website, and you can actually upload files to them. A lot of times in my research, a lot of people are asking, how do I find these different sites? I spend a lot of time just sitting on the darknet looking for different things. But I also use search engines. So example is Candle, and another example is Torch. They're pretty similar to any search engine that you'll find. They're just crawling the darknet and indexing the sites that they have. And then from there, you can just go on there, search certain key terms and find different things. Another way I also find hidden services that I like to look at is through link lists. So with this example here, we have someone that's written a script that's going out there, they're checking actual hidden services to see if it's still online and when the last time it was posted there, and providing you some great information about that. So right here, one is Daniel Onion Link. Basically it's going out there, it's finding different onion services, and it's showing when it was last online. Another one I like to use is Fresh Onions. A lot of times you'll see different people that are opening up booter and stressor services. And this isn't one of the ways that you actually can see when they pop up without having to manually look for them. So into a little bit of the fun stuff, what can you exactly buy? You can buy almost anything on the darknet, but I'm specifically looking for certain things. I'm looking for DDoS as a service, botnet rentals, malware and ransomware. I'm looking at different security hosting providers. I'm also looking for undisclosed exploits and leaked data. So as far as DDoS as a service goes, there's tons of people out there offering this. It's actually quite amazing. They're also selling it on not only on marketplaces, but they're also selling on their individual websites. So here we have an actual attacker here that's selling access to a botnet, but they're also selling this on Alphabay as well. The interesting thing is that you can actually see that they are advertising their attacks that they've done for clients in the news. I find that really actually humorous. I'm also seeing a large growth of stressor services found on the darknet. Most of these people are setting up stressor services on the ClearNet, but they're becoming very easy to take down and very easy to find. So a lot of times they're actually moving to the darknet. The funny thing about this situation, specifically with Layer 7, when you go to actually buy the stressor service, it takes you to a PayPal page where the guy has his Gmail email address there. So if he's trying to hide and he's trying to be smart, he really wasn't doing it by using PayPal and putting a Gmail service there. Another thing I look at is malware and ransomware. Ransomware is kind of a big thing right now. We all saw with WannaCry. Specifically, their C2 servers were hidden on the darknet, so it's kind of an interesting aspect there. But here we have an example. It's called Satan. So you can go onto Satan and you can actually specify your ransom, add notes, and all kinds of fun things. And it'll give you a simple executable that you can actually start sending out to your victims. As you can see on Virus Total, it has a pretty good hit rate, so it's not something that's brand new. It's something that's very much known, and they're just kind of putting out there hoping that someone will actually pay. In this case, it's free, but in other times, people are paying and buying ransomware that's already been detected. So it really doesn't help their campaign too much. Another thing that we recently found was a Zyklon HTTP botnet. So this is a vendor on the Darknet that was selling access to a botnet that offers both ClearNet and Darknet C2 servers. So for $75, you can get the normal version, and $125, you can get the Tor Darknet service. A little bit interesting thing that I find about these criminals is they have very detailed terms of services. So when I actually find these things, I want to reverse the malware. The TOS says I can't. They say I can't upload it to Virus Total, which puts me in a very interesting position as a researcher. Another thing that you also can find is rats. Specifically here we have JRat that's selling on the Darknet for $29. And this is really easily accessible. Any kid that wants to go out there and start a campaign can simply take his allowance, convert it into Bitcoin, go buy this, and start a little rampage. Another thing I find on the Darknet is services. So here we have Job for Hackers. On this website, people can request different services, and they also can post their services. Recently, I found a lady at UC Davis that was asking to have her actual grades changed, and unfortunately, she put her real Gmail address and also her Wickr account. So it wasn't too difficult for me to call the college and actually verify that she was a student, and just sent a quiet little link over to them. You also have third-party services that sell all different types of hacking services, such as hacking email, social media. They'll design malicious software. They'll even hack in and change your grades in colleges, like I said, which is kind of a big thing with the younger generation. They'll launch DDoS attacks to postpone tests and to delay finals, but they will also hire hackers to change their grade if they don't show up or they fail completely. So a lot of this stuff is actually free on the Darknet. A lot of these kids don't know where to look, and if you spend enough time on there, you can find where to download them. So one example is we have an open hacking lab. And basically, they're providing free botnets, free malware, and all the different types of things that you can use to run a campaign. There's also the group, the French Freedom Zone, that offers a number of different services as well. It's very simple. You can just go here, just click, 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 and download, and you'll have enough tools to run a campaign. So a little bit about why hackers are using the Darknet. Basically, there's a variety of marketplaces out there. As you can see, some of the popular ones are Alpha Bay. Most recently, there was a Real Deal where the Dark Overlord was selling a bunch of different data and holding companies for ransom. There's also Hell, DHL, and Hansa. So it basically provides a one-click stop shop for these people. They can just go on, they can convert, as I said, their allowance to Bitcoin, any other way that they're getting money. A lot of times these criminals are actually sitting on Twitter asking for people to donate Bitcoin, and that's because they don't want to actually go buy Bitcoin with their real money and transfer it into their wallet, so they'll ask everybody else to donate the money. So when someone's going to track that Bitcoin back to the criminal, it's not going back to them, it's actually going back to wherever or whoever provided that Bitcoin to them. Hackers are basically using the Darknet because it's providing a privacy obfuscation opportunity, and that's really what they're looking for. They're looking for opportunity, they're looking away for hide themselves, and they're looking for easy access to tools. They're really not wanting to do a lot of work. So with that, is there any questions about the Darknet I can answer for anybody? Yes, sir.
If you have the ability to block traffic from somebody's enterprise network to known Tor IP addresses or exit nodes, I believe, would that increase your chances of not getting ransomware within your enterprise?
It is very possible, yes. And I do suggest a lot of people to pull down those exit nodes and add them to their blacklist.
Okay, so are there ways to get onto the Tor network without those known IPs that are publicly listed, to where you can still be compromised?
I mean, there are ways, is you use bridges. So bridges are basically relays that aren't public. but you can still find those and you can still add them to the blacklist.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? All right, well, thank you very much.